Part of what makes anime such an exciting form of art is that it doesn't just entertain audiences in unpredictable ways, but it often excels with its inclusion of underrepresented groups of people. This has helped anime become such a universal product that's not just speaking to everyone, but I think specifically highlighting those that may get overlooked elsewhere. I am Daniel Curlin from Den of Geek, and today I have the pleasure of talking with two talented voice actors from Funimation on the subject of spotlighting African American voices in the anime industry. Dani Chambers can be heard in Ace Attorney, My Hero Academia, Heroes Rising, and as the central character in The Ancient Mage's Bride, along with a bunch of other great series. And Lee George is another accomplished voice actor with roles in Listeners, Smile Down the Runway, as well as voicing the main character in Apar Ranman. Thank you both for your time today to talk about this. And to begin with, did you have any kind of relationship with anime before working in it? Like, were you two fans before you were a part of the industry?
Yeah, I grew up on anime like Sailor Moon, Tenchi Muyo, just all kinds of anime that I feel like everybody was into. But I just loved it. It was always a part of me. And growing up, I loved doing theater and acting. So I was like, one day I'd do that. I want to do that, but I never knew what it was. So yeah, it's always been a part of my life, and it's amazing that I can be a part of it now.
And likewise, you could always find me on the playground charging up a Kamehameha blast or trying to instant transmit somewhere. Anime was definitely a big part of my social circle growing up, which was nice to find that kind of camaraderie.
What do you think the initial allure was about those programs? Or, like, was it fulfilling something that you weren't getting satisfied in other kind of shows?
When I first watched like Sailor Moon, for example, I was like, they're cute anime girls who can like kick butt with like hearts and rainbows and stuff. What? It was seen like growing up, it seemed too girly, with all the hearts and stuff. But it's like now they kick butt with it. They destroy these weird, scary looking aliens, and with like love and friendship. And I'm like, this is so cool. And it helped me appreciate. I don't want to say friendship more. I always appreciated friendship, but it made me appreciate like camaraderie a bit more with my friends, that we shared this kind of, medium. And I loved it. And it allowed me to just be comfortable in it without having to be feared or judged by other people about it.
There's a rawness to anime that you don't find in like traditional cartoons. You feel so strongly about something that you explode, or you power up, or you just you can release tension in a very kind of emotionally powerful way. The depth of a lot of what you see in anime is I think very mirrored in real life, even though it's a little extreme. So I think that was really cool to have at your fingertips as a young adult.
Regardless of whether it's the action or the comedy or like the friendship too, and there is a real sense of unity, not even in the programs themselves, but like the fandom around them. Like fandom itself, I think, has grown to a very huge kind of place lately, but in anime in particular, there's a very intense kind of base around that. Have you had much experience with like anime fandom, whether it's been at conventions or on social media or just getting a piece of that at all?
I've never done a convention before. I mean, I've gotten to do Funimation's virtual con that
Cool.
they did middle of last year, which is incredible. But I've never been to an in-person convention. But I think a cool thing that's come out of doing voice acting is I've gotten a lot of messages on Instagram and Twitter from young aspiring voice actors, young anime fans, whether they be Black or what have you, just appreciating the art form, which is really cool and something I'm still not used to. But it's
Mhm.
incredible to see and experience.
See, I've done like two conventions at most, but I've had like one person come up to me and resonate with me, like they love my performance of a character, and says not necessarily just changed their life, but it kind of like helped evaluate the situation they were going through. And it's like, yes, that's what I want to do. I want to help. And And also, I've had, like Lee, I've had messages sent to me from, other POC aspiring voice actors who want to do this. And they're like, thank you for helping me, inspiring me to go do this. And I'm like, well, that's why I wanted to do it. Like, we can do this. And just to see them like go after their dreams and actually, do the thing they said they wanted to is so heartwarming. So seeing that in the community just fills my heart up with so much joy, and I'm glad it's happening.
And this isn't exclusive necessarily to anime or animation, but like it's so important, I think, when children see themselves seen in something and like represented, and it is must be so validating just to be a part of that and give those kids that experience, and like especially when you've gone through that same thing yourselves.
I was talking to a friend about this recently. There's a difference between wishing for something and hoping for something.
Okay.
And so when you don't see yourself in the things that you enjoy, doing them later in life feels more like a wish than a hope, and like you hope for attainable things, but you wish for, the ability to fly or to do a Kamehameha blast one day. And so being a part of that transformation of turning voice acting as a wish into a hope is brings a smile to my face all the time.
Anime has a wide spectrum of characters that often are so unusual, or just like creatures that aren't necessarily people, that they feel beyond race at times. And has that made a difference at all when it comes to representation in the casting or the variety of characters that you're able to play in anime versus other mediums necessarily?
I don't know that I've played many non like human characters, but I mean, we're talking about a medium where they don't necessarily have our same racial context that we kind of aspire or place on ourselves and the world around us. So being able to voice a character who is fair skinned but has naturally blue hair and can summon a soul sword is it feels as different as voicing a dragon creature, or it's just they are an entity unto themselves. So it's easier to detach my self-identity as a Black man to who this character is, even though I'm the one voicing him.
It's really different because, like I said, I come from a theater background where you kind of had to fit the mold of what the play calls for. So jumping from where my options are limited to a medium where I can pretty much be anything was a huge like realization. Like, I can be a depressed anime girl with red hair and magic powers. It's like, I can do that. That's amazing. So it was like truly like a shock jumping into this industry, but it made me aware that I shouldn't have to be limited in this industry. So it was just a very kind of like wake-up call for me.
It's interesting to see how it's gained such a presence in like the rap and hip-hop community of music. And like I was just seeing an interview with Megan Thee Stallion where like she was talking about her favorite anime series, and like she and Beyonce have like anime stuff on their merch. And just why do you think there's been that response or that synergy between those particular markets?
It's easy to reduce an anime plot into something that mirrors the Black experience. My Hero Academia, for example, is about an unpowered youth in a world surrounded by people with powers and privilege and special perception in the world, who wishes for the opportunity and finally gets the chance to show that he deserves that same respect and ability, and also that he can do great things with that kind of power. And so I think rap is all about expression and breaking through molds that we put ourselves into and the world puts us into. And so I think they kind of go hand in hand in a way.
I definitely agree. It breaks the mold of what people expect us to be in. Like, everybody has their own box of what they think people should be looking like or sounding like. And I think, anime kind of like broke that and just kind of went in a way where it doesn't have to follow what the world deems. It could be whatever they want. And so it allows, I think being in this culture kind of open their eyes and realize that, oh my God, these are stories like ours. And they are stories that can, help us change not only ourselves, but our communities around us. And I think that helps inspire other people to make change too. And so the people who are influenced by it in that culture, who have influence over their communities and their cultures, that helps spread that same message of what the anime was probably saying. And it kind of like shapes everybody's thinking a little bit more to kind of like, hey, maybe not do this, but try this, or causes them to change their mindset too. A negative way of thinking that causes something that could harm somebody else, maybe realize like, hey, that's not a good idea. I should probably, rethink my priorities or my thought process or whatever. And I think that really helps all cultures and communities when you have influential people kind of like take a stand and be like, yo, this is cool because of X, Y, and Z. And if it causes change, then that's a really, really good thing.
There's been like a lot of exciting changes going on in the voice acting industry in the past year to kind of show effort towards better representation being reflected in stuff. Like there was the recasting of roles in Big Mouth and Central Park and stuff. And do you think actions like that are helping move the industry in a more positive direction and just kind of getting, things perhaps in a better place?
Personally, for me, with people stepping down for those roles, personally, I don't think they really needed to. I think that what we're trying to get at is the opportunity to like audition, be a part of it, not just not just okay, a pity cast because we need this person. We don't want pity cast. We don't want cast just because we're the only POC people available for this role. We want every opportunity to audition for whatever role there is, not just because we fit this mold of what they want. Obviously there's differences, with like historical pieces and where they require that's different. But when it comes to like anything that's, like fantasy or whatever, it doesn't have to be limited to we only play the minority characters and that's it. It's like, no, we should have access to everything just like how everybody else does. So it's a matter of opportunity rather than requirement, I guess, if that makes sense.
I completely 100 agree with that. And also to play devil's advocate, because I love to do that. I don't actually. But I think with that discussion, I also come from a theater background, and as an actor, you're expected to play outside of yourself. And that's, a main argument about, I shouldn't have to be confined to my own racial identity when it comes to acting in any form or medium. And I think in certain arenas, as they are set now, the majority have kind of a large claim on a lot of opportunity, as Dani was pointing out. An opportunity is the thing that we want. And so if the argument is that you should be able to act outside of yourself so that you can play these roles that are written as people of color, then what's happening is that there's a disregard that a marginalized group is saying that we're having a hard time even playing ourselves in these roles, in these films or shows. You're worried about expanding beyond your range, and we're just trying to get the representation that's written for us in certain media. So I think absolutely, it's all about opportunity, and we have to come to a point where there is enough intake of people in color where they can be, where it is just about opportunity, and it's not about racial casting and stereotyping and pigeonholing as far as roles go.
I guess kind of the inverse of that too is like, Dani, you voice Ironheart in Marvel Avenger Academy, and there's a lot of overlap between anime and superheroes, obviously, and it's exciting, I think, to see these new versions of these iconic characters happening now that would have seemed impossible, like 2 decades or even just a decade ago. And it's just an exciting avenue that everything's going in as well.
Yeah, it's really cool because when I got that audition, I was like, okay, this is great, this is cool. And then when I booked it, I was like, ah, yay!
Mm-hmm.
It's an incredible opportunity because with things like that, where it's like a black superhero who's who's female too. It's like you want to cast somebody a black female for that role because representation once again, and it's to have that opportunity to do that was amazing. And I'm like, oh my god, thank God. And it was incredible. Even though it was just like a few lines for a mobile game, it was still a huge impact because a lot of people were like, oh my god, I loved you for Ironheart in Marvel Avengers the game. And I'm like, wow, that's really cool. And they're like, yeah, you inspired me, I want to go do voice acting too. I'm like, oh yes, do it. It's and it's things like that make me do this because we want to see more in there to where it's just like they could play anybody they want.
Yeah.
And it's just a really, really good feeling just seeing that happen. So it was a really just a dream come true for me personally.
All of this talk about representation and stuff, is there any anime series that has made you felt especially seen, or like a program that you think does an especially good job at representation, whether it's just been one scene or like as a whole, but just something that's stood out to you guys?
Not when I'm in, but Lee's in it. Apare Ramen, that one. The one that I think it just ended. That one has a whole cast of fun characters with different accents, diversity even within the voice actors, and it sounds incredibly good. Like everybody sounds so fantastic, and it's a really fun anime to watch. It's just kind of like
it's like a race,
Yeah, it's a
like
race.
Yes.
It's a lot of fun, and you get to enjoy these characters as they go to each stop, and I'm like, oh my god, this is so great. And then you have so much fun while you're watching it, and they each have their own issues they go through, and you feel for each one of them, like because of the different cultures and problems like that they had. Like one is mad at another because his father, and I don't want to spoil stuff, but it's so interesting how different cultures in that show collide, but they still learn to work together and have fun throughout the midst of some chaos sometimes. And it's just phenomenal, and I love it.
Well, I'll say one recently to look out for. Horimiya recently got the cast announcement for that, and it looks incredible. I mean, the cast is just heavy hitters, very diverse. It's a hidden rom-com in the making. So if that's your cup of tea, then definitely check that out.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Dani Chambers, Lee George, just for talking on this topic and taking the time. And, they can both be heard in miniseries that are on Funimation streaming service and more. And lastly, again, I'm Daniel Curlin from Den of Geek, and just keep on watching anime, guys.